The arena was alive with thunder. Thousands of alien voices echoed against the obsidian walls, chanting the name of their champion. The sand beneath the combatants' feet was stained dark with the blood of those who had fought before. Overhead, crimson banners rippled in the artificial wind, emblazoned with the insignia of the Zorath Empire, conquerors of 12 star systems, enslavers of hundreds of species, and masters of the galaxy's most brutal sport, the blood trials. From the steel gate at one end emerged the reigning champion, Vrathal, an 8-foot gladiator from the hulking Garrick species. Her scales shimmered a deep metallic blue, each plate harder than steel. Horns curled back from her head. Her teeth were jagged knives, and every step she took rattled the floor like a quake. In one clawed hand, she dragged her war axe, a slab of metal so heavy that most machines required hydraulics to lift it. The crowd roared. At the other end, a smaller gate opened with a hiss, and out stepped her opponent, a human, Lance Corporal Daniel Kane of the United Terra Marines. He wasn't much to look at compared to Vrathal. Just 6 feet tall, lean rather than bulky, wearing battered combat armor that had already seen too many battles. His helmet was gone, revealing brown hair matted with sweat and piercing gray eyes that locked on his opponent without flinching. He had nothing but a standard-issue combat knife strapped to his thigh and a battered energy baton sparking weakly in his grip. The crowd laughed. Pathetic! One alien barked in their guttural tongue. "He'll die in the first swing," shouted another. Even Vrathal's lip curled in a grin of disdain. She lowered her massive axe and pointed it at him. "Human," she growled, her voice carrying across the arena. "You don't belong here. Crawl back to your fragile world. I'll end you quickly." Daniel didn't reply. He just rolled his shoulders, loosening the tension, and readied his stance. A horn sounded. The blood trial began. Vrathal charged first, covering ground in a blur for something her size. Her axe came down like a meteor, the air shrieking from the force of it. Daniel sidestepped at the last instant, sent spraying up as the axe bit into the ground where he'd stood. He darted forward, slashing with his baton, but the strike barely made her flinch. It was like striking a tank. She laughed. "That tickles." Her tail whipped around like a battering ram. It smashed into Daniel's chest, hurling him across the arena. He crashed hard into the wall, his armor sparking and cracked. The crowd erupted in cheers. Vrathal spread her arms, soaking in their praise. "This is your champion? A weakling with a stick." Daniel groaned, pushing himself to his feet. His ribs screamed in pain, but his eyes never wavered. He studied her movements carefully. Power, arrogance, overconfidence. He'd seen it before on battlefields when enemy commanders underestimated human resilience. That mistake had cost them dearly. The Garrick swung again, axe cleaving sideways this time. Daniel ducked low, rolling under the strike. He darted in close, slamming his baton into the exposed joint beneath her arm. The energy crackled, and for the first time, Vrathal snarled in pain. It wasn't much, but it was something. Daniel moved fast, stabbing his knife into another gap in her armor, under the scales near her hip. The blade went in deep, drawing dark purple blood. Vrathal roared, fury blazing in her molten yellow eyes. She kicked him away like a doll, the impact sending him tumbling across the sand. But now the crowd was quieter. Their champion had bled. "You day," she bellowed, voice shaking the stands. "I'll crush you into paste." She came at him harder now, each strike rattling the arena. Daniel's arms ached as he parried with a baton, every blow threatening to tear it from his grasp. Sparks flew. His armor cracked further. One strike tore a chunk from his shoulder plate. Still, he fought, dodging, weaving, countering. He was fast, faster than her, darting around her hulking frame like a wasp stinging a beast. Every time she missed, he made her pay with another strike to a weak spot. Her thigh, her elbow, her neck plates. Small wounds, but piling up. Her swings grew sloppier. Rage clouded her discipline, and Daniel smiled. "You're strong," he said between breaths, "but strength isn't everything." Vrathal roared and lunged. Daniel sidestepped, dragging her momentum forward, then leapt onto her back. He wrapped his arm around her throat and jammed a crackling baton against the base of her skull. Energy surged, frying her nerves. She howled, staggering. He drove his knife again and again into her shoulder joint until her axe slipped from her grasp, clattering to the sand. The crowd gasped. The great champion was disarmed. Vrathal stumbled, dropping to one knee. She clawed at her back, trying to rip him off, but Daniel clung tight, twisting the baton deep into her vulnerable spot. Her legs buckled. Finally, with a thunderous crash, the 8-foot gladiator fell face first into the arena sand. The silence from the crowd was deafening. Daniel stood over her, chest heaving, blooded but unbroken. He pressed the blade of his knife against her throat, ready to finish it. The crowd waited for the kill. That was what the blood trials demanded. But then something happened no one expected. Vrathal's clawed hand rose, not to strike, but to surrender. She turned her head slightly, eyes wide with something never before seen in them. "Faye, mercy," she rasped. Her voice cracked. "I yield." The crowd gasped again. Their mighty champion, the undefeated Titan, was begging for her life at the feet of a human. Daniel hesitated. He had every right to end her. He had been forced into this fight, paraded as prey for the aliens' amusement. Killing her would send a message. But something in him resisted. He lowered the knife. "You mocked me," he said, his voice steady. "You thought humans weak. Remember this day." Vrathal's head dropped to the sand in shame. Then the arena exploded with noise. Not cheers, not laughter, but something else entirely. Shock. "Oh, Faye." The human marine had beaten their greatest warrior without mercy, without armor, without anything but grit and strategy. Daniel toned, staring up at the Emperor who presided over the trials from his throne above. The alien ruler's expression was unreadable, but his grip on the armrest was tight. He had not expected this. Daniel raised his baton, blooded but still sparking weakly, and shouted for all to hear. Humanity bows to no one. The roar of the crowd followed him out of the arena, but it was no longer mockery. It was the beginning of something else, a legend spreading like fire through the empire. The story of the fragile human who made the champion of champions fall to her knees and beg for mercy.